because you got second place, right?
Yep. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 447 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded April 7th, 2025. And a quick shout out to Tony, who I found on the Book of Faces, one of our fans. So thanks for listening, bud.
Yes, thank you. We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP. Become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage. Follow the link on the right.
Awesome. That brings us to our favorite segment. What are we drinking? Pierre, what are you drinking? And, something off of the Patriot Challenge, if it so inclines you.
Tonight I'm drinking some scotch.
Oh, fancy.
Mm. Yes, didn't have any whiskey, and by the time I made it to the store, it was closed. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll drink out of the fancy bottle.
Well, there you go.
Patriot Challenge, also doing the waters, staying on top of that. Still staying on top of lunches. I failed today because I got to work and realized I left my lunch pail at home.
Well,
That
you
was a
tried.
bummer.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
You made
son
the
of a bitch.
lunch, you just forgot it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just trying to get back on that. Getting back on that, eating healthier than eating takeout because takeout's garbage and never agrees with me. So
It's
yeah,
so
doing
it's
that.
so tasty in the moment, though.
Oh yeah, like sometimes you like eat it and then like you're not even done and you're like, oh fuck, I regret this. But like
Yeah.
that first bite,
Instantly
that,
regret this. Yeah, but I will
yeah,
keep
that
eating it.
first bite, like me and Mel went into town. We went to the Costco, pick up a few things, and okay, let's go do this, do that. And like we're leaving, and like we're hungry, but we went to the business center, so we couldn't get like the cheap hot dog that you burp for 2 days.
Yeah.
So we went to like the Wendy's, right? It's like, man, a Baconator could like hit the spot right now. And that's after like 4 bites. I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm over this. Like
Allegedly,
I
that
finished
might
it.
be what I had for lunch. Yeah.
Like I finished it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just like, man, I'm regretting this, man.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, and then yeah, still doing the podcast, getting back into the audibles. Gonna start doing a lot
Nice.
more traveling real soon. So stocking up the Audible books to
Nice.
become a less shittier person,
Well, that's good.
hopefully. What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I'm drinking Signal Hill and Diet Cherry Pepsi again this evening, as per usual. Patriot Challenge stuff, yeah, doing my reading. I finished the Andy McNabb book, and I'm now on to another one, which is Chris Ryan, Warlord. It's all right. It's like
Yeah.
another. This one's about like the SAS during the drug wars in South America. So it's apparently based on a true story. So kind of interesting. Um, it's
If you're
also
liking
yeah,
if you're liking no, if you're liking those fictions, which are nice,
yeah.
another really good one. Hold on, let me look at it real quick. Oh, my collections. Son of a bitch. No, no, don't play it.
I always
Uh,
hate when you do that. You open it up and it's like, no, don't.
oh, actually, okay. I'm doing another one. Um, but I can't remember now. Um, but
No
it's
worries.
but he's made two spin-offs. One of them is like this super secret Navy SEAL thing, and there's only one guy that survived, and pretty much he made a whole series, like 8, 9 books about
This one guy.
they brought
Or
it back as a different name and they like did facial construction so to his family he's dead and then they did a spin-off of like the elite team he was in that was whatever and like description of everything and actually the person that reads it narrates it or whatever um yeah, you can get into that book if you're into those
Nice.
like just
Yeah,
something
yeah,
fiction, but like
yeah.
you're reading it and I'm like, yeah, some of like apparently they have uh full color display night vision goggles, which I'm like,
Yeah. I mean,
that's
it's
nice.
a thing, but yeah, they're
Yeah, but
digital and there's lag, but yeah,
yeah,
sometimes you have to just yeah, suspend reality and get into it. But
yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, if you ever need another one, let me know. I'll figure those out. And yeah, like I said, it's just a nice pastime, but I'm like very good description on stuff and very good on making it make sense as best of my knowledge since I've never served in the military. So
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, reading that. It's so far it's pretty good. I was out canvassing again on the weekend, so I personally knocked on 55 doors.
yes,
So my local candidate has almost completely canvassed his entire riding. There's
nice.
only a few things left, so probably by the end of this week, if not sooner, it will be done, which is amazing because normally they don't even get to every door in the riding,
No,
and he's been crushing it. Like he's been out there every
like
single day, rain
like
or
10, 12
shine.
hours at 10,
Oh
12
yeah,
hours a
like
day.
just
Like
and
nice.
yeah, getting some like we had a massive group of people out. So anecdotally, a lot more blue signs still than red. Uh,
Nice.
a lot of undecideds, but more people confirming they are voting conservative than they are voting liberal, at least in my experience. So some good news.
Nice.
Also, other crazy things. The rally in Penticton the other night, 4,000 people, which is like 10% of the population, which is insane.
Yes,
And
that
tonight
is.
in Edmonton, I think they're projecting something like 12,000 people, if not
Wow.
more. They had to move to a bigger venue, and apparently the venue holds 50,000 people. So if they fill it, it'll be insane. But even if they get
Yeah.
12,000, that is awesome. The largest rally that Trudeau had was 5,000. So he's already beat Trudeau's record when he
And
filled that
3,000
airplane hangar.
and
So
3,000 of them were probably paid
yeah, probably.
or like didn't
Yeah.
understand and they were like, "Hey, you're in the country, just go here on these dates." But I
Yeah.
don't understand. Like just shut up and go. You're here.
Yeah.
Here's your hotel voucher.
They were getting those cheap hot dogs, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Nice.
so some
Nice.
good
Good for
things
you. Good for
coming.
you.
Yeah. Getting out practicing. I've also been practicing my restraint in some online conversations because sometimes the people are just like, what the hell?
That's why I
But
deleted my Instagram.
yeah,
Like I
I get suckered in sometimes, especially when it's with somebody that I know, and it can be frustrating because it's like, and this is a bit of a rant here, maybe.
yeah.
It drives me crazy, and I know this has kind of come up before in various episodes when there's been elections and talk about this, that, and everything else. But like this this lie that is going around right now that the conservatives are not for women's health and that they are going to like ban abortion and all of those
Oh,
things
jeez.
is ridiculous because right in their platform, as clear as day, in a single sentence, they say, we are not going to do anything that changes anything, right? Like, I think they word it
No.
as, we will not support any regulations on abortion. So that means that they are not going to change anything.
Yeah.
But people are still saying that they are and are like, well, in the instance that I'm talking about right now with somebody like that is a gun owner or wants to be a gun owner, but is voting in favor of their women's rights that are going to be removed. And I'm like, but you could vote in favor of both of those things if you vote conservative. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't believe them. I'm like, well, but that's on you then. That's not the party. You just don't
Yeah.
believe it. But
Yeah,
you're going
but
to
like
vote for the guy that like the
fucked
liberals
us.
were,
Like
yeah, yeah. The liberals were in power when vaccine mandates were crammed down our throats.
nope.
We had to show papers to go in and out of restaurants and things like that. They froze bank accounts. I mean, they're not saying anything about abortion, but they sure as shit don't respect your rights.
No.
But you're going to vote for that and have your guns taken away so that if some point
Yeah.
later in time somebody does get in power that wants to take away your right to abortion, you will not have the arms to defend yourself because they've
Right.
already gone. So, like,
A- And I mean,
just,
I'm not saying that if the conservatives were in power, we wouldn't have had the vax mandates and this, that. Like,
yeah.
we can only talk about the cards that are on the table,
Well,
not the ones
exactly.
that
Yeah.
are in a different universe. Like, I deep
Yeah.
down, I hope it would have went a little differently. But I'm not 100% confident that it wouldn't have went at
I'm not.
least.
I'm not either. But I,
I think they would have put up a bit more of a fight, but I think we would still be in the same scenario we are now,
yeah,
minus a few
it
things.
likely
But
would have been a little bit more lax. But I imagine there still would have been restrictions because,
yeah,
yeah. But I
you,
mean,
you,
their platform now does say that they are not for that and that they are for like body autonomy.
right. And I
That's
think the whole confusion that a lot of people have is like conservatives, right?
yeah.
You're blue. In the
Yeah.
US, it's red, right?
Yes, there's a bit of a
Republicans,
yeah.
right? So it gets confusing, right?
Yeah.
But that whole turnover of Roe versus Wade, right?
Yeah.
That was a big conservative move. That's a
Yeah.
big push. That was all this. So they're not seeing it as, the
Yeah.
whole picture, right? I mean, yes, we're
Yeah.
Canadian patriot, but like we'll just take this small
Yeah,
side
yeah,
tangent
but like
where the US said, fine, hey, we're overturning this and we're kicking it back to the states.
but
So
that
it's
is
no
how
longer
their
federal.
system is set up. They
Yeah.
are supposed to be like that, where the state will dictate the majority of things. We are different because for us, it's mostly the federal that decides things for
Yeah.
us.
Or
But they've
just
said that they're not going to
Ontario.
do it. Like, I don't know how much more they can make it clear, but it just
Yeah.
drives me nuts. And it's just like,
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah. And
making a
that,
thing out of a thing that isn't even a thing anymore, and like they're riling up their own side over this. And it's
yeah.
like, but that's not even a thing. Like nobody has said anything about this. Like,
No,
oh,
right?
I used to,
Yeah, it's, yeah,
that's my rant. It was one of those things I had to like
yeah.
hold back in this argument because I was just like, I can't believe that this person is arguing like this because
Yeah,
like
that's
it
like,
doesn't
this is
make
the
any
thing.
sense.
No.
But anyways, yeah. Upcoming events, Veristaleka Remote Military March, April 25th to 27th. So get out, get some exercise. You could use that as your Patriot Challenge. It'll be a good time. It's always good to get out, stretch the legs. You could even do some canvassing maybe as your 25K with a rucksack. Um,
Yeah. I'm sure they'll answer with those short shorts.
News.
News.
All right, so we've got a couple of things here. Most of this is again is about the upcoming election because it's a big thing, and it also seems to be the dumpster fire that just keeps on burning brighter and brighter as the time
Yeah.
goes on.
Even though there's nothing left in the dumpster.
Yes, but the first thing, and this one is a bit of a letdown,
Yes.
but an operation to capture Parliament Hill intruder a success, but a moment to reflect. So the other day, um, the East Wing, was it? Yes, the East
Yeah.
Block.
Yeah.
As opposed to the West Wing in the Americas, it's the East Block here. But yes, Saturday, for many, many hours of the day, the East Block of the Parliament buildings was on lockdown with an exclusion zone. So a gentleman, Tyler Hall Worthington, 31 years old, was captured without injury and charged with 2 counts of breaching probation, 1 count of public mischief, and 1 count of uttering threats to cause property damage.
That seems like a very low amount of charges for charging
Yeah.
Parliament. Like, I've heard people that have gotten pulled over and they found like ammo and have gotten more charges.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess our Saturday, April 5th, is even more low T than the America's January 6th.
yeah.
Um,
Like, I mean, it was one person, not
yeah,
like a
yeah,
giant thing, but like, yeah, no, but I mean, 2 counts of breach of probation. So I'm curious about that.
yeah.
Uh, Public mischief, probably that, and then uttering threats and
Yeah, but
cause,
not
to
even not
cause
even death threats, but uttering threats to cause damage to public property.
damage.
Like what?
Right? Like,
What is it like?
I should get that charge at a discount because my tax dollars paid for
Yeah,
fucking park, right?
was
Like,
that the guy like walking in and just being like, "Fuck your couch, fuck your couch,"
yeah, fuck your
like,
couch.
like
And then later on, the probation thing is he's like cocaine's one hell of a drug, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, this could have been a bigger thing, but like,
yeah,
I mean,
it's
given that we're in election, there's nobody even in the Parliament buildings. Although apparently, I think there was some rumors or whatever going around that Carney was set to arrive there at some point later in the day, but
yeah,
nothing happened to anything. It just seems that this guy barricaded himself in, and it took a few hours to get this guy out, and nobody got hurt. So it all ended up being like a big nothing burger. But
yeah, but still, I mean,
yeah,
start with we're only gonna get half of it, but like, still curious on what
yeah, like what?
what he was doing, the charges. I want more clarification on that because, like,
Yeah,
I mean, from the sounds of it, he probably didn't have a gun, so they didn't slam him with a
yeah,
bunch of stuff. But like, just very right. Only news I do is on Mondays. I don't have the socialist medias, so like, I'm very out of the loop for many things. But yeah, I saw this article and I was like, I'm just so confused, and I was just like, I don't know if he just wanted a fancy
yeah,
stapler. Um, but
yeah.
yeah,
Who knows? It's a
yeah,
bizarre
it's
one. I mean, like obviously this ended a lot better than the last time that a crazy person ran into the Parliament buildings, where unfortunately some people got shot.
yeah,
Um,
by someone who
yeah,
wasn't supposed to have a gun, but
yeah.
solved a
And then
giant
there was also the
situation.
one
But
where like the guy rammed the gates at like the park next to the cottage, and got
yeah,
caught. So
yeah,
like,
and he did
and
a
then
whole bunch
other
of
than yeah,
videos coming down. Yeah, yeah,
and
like
then
it
other
could have
than
been a
that,
lot
I think
worse.
the only other time that anything like this has really happened was when that guy broke into when Chrétien was in charge, and like they just like locked the bedroom door and the guy was on the outside. Like, so luckily in Canada, for the most part, when this stuff happens, it's pretty low key.
Yeah, that's
Nothing.
because we're not a serious country.
Yeah. Speaking of not a serious country, Brookfield, you may have heard that name. That is the company that previously employed Mark Carney. Apparently, they run a $50 billion business out of a building in Bermuda that houses a bike shop. So when you look at the Google Maps here, um, it's a very small, low-rise building, like 3 stories or something like that, and there's a bike shop in it, like bicycles. Um, and apparently it's been confirmed via phone that image, even though it's several years old, is still accurate. The bike
Yeah,
shop is still
it's
there.
yeah, it hasn't
Yeah,
been changed into a giant
yeah,
warehouse. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
So this is the address that they list as like their headquarters or whatever, where like their taxes and all of this thing flows through for their $50 billion business.
okay. So before we get into the weeds about $50 billion bike business, can we just talk about that this is on the NDP website? Like,
Well, and yeah, that's
like this is on the
yeah.
NDP. It's a very short thing. It's just like, hey, look
But
at
they
this. And
they
then
are
in the
going
top
out of
corner,
it.
there's donate.
Yeah.
Like there's fuck all on this news article. I wouldn't even say it's a news article because like there's not enough information.
No.
It just says like, hey, here's the address. Look at this. Click on this link. CTV found this, and like it's very vague. But
But it
there's a
is funny
big
though
blue
to see.
donate.
That's why I included it though from that.
Yeah,
That's because it's like
100%.
this is weird. The NDP is actually going after the liberals in this and
Yeah,
reporting on something. The next article, though, is a follow-up here because apparently it's not just one business, it is multiple businesses that are run out of this 3-story building, but like
see.
three-story, like, and then like only like 3 windows wide. So it's not a very big, like, I mean, it's bigger than my house, but like not much. It's just got one
Yeah,
more floor, basically.
Yeah,
Although
but
probably not, well, yeah, I guess technically we were a front back split, so we don't actually have a proper second floor. But yeah.
hmm,
But yes, there are several entities of the global investment giant Brookfield Asset Management registered to this address that also houses a local bike shop. So they don't even have the entirety of the building. They've got maybe 2 floors of this building.
yeah, and a bunch of warehouse space for a bike
Yeah.
shop for manufacturing or just repair. Because if it's manufacturing, right, like we're talking square
Yeah.
footage here, like just
Yep.
manufacturing, you need a lot more square footage. You don't want to, oh, I'm going to manufacture this piece and then clear the table off, put it all away, and like take something else out, right? Like you probably want to do
Yep.
just like car automotive places where it's like every section has something. So
So yeah.
yeah, but also, what are those businesses that they need or they're
Well,
running
and so
50
we'll
billion?
get into this a little bit here. So Carney, as we know, worked for
Hmm.
them. He served as a chair of their board from August of 22 until mid-January of this year,
Oh,
right? And that's basically when he resigned and kind of put his hat in the ring. So like it's not like he is left there for a long period of time. Like, you know,
I bet you he's still
he just
invited to the
left.
Christmas party.
Oh yeah. And he's definitely got T4s for this year's taxes from these people, right? Like
Yeah.
unless those were also registered here in Bermuda, which seems to be the biggest problem with this. So they had 2 pension funds worth a combined $25 billion, and they're registered in Bermuda. One of the advantages of this, their tax thing is different. So they don't have corporate income tax. So there's a lot of stuff if you register your company through here. And it's supposed to be like if you actually register your company here, you need to actually be operating out of here and have a business and all of these things, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
But they've
I'm not gonna
registered
fault.
it to this address. So it's weird that this $50 billion business has $25 billion worth of investments in this tiny little building, which makes it seem not legit. It's as
Yeah,
if they have registered the business there simply to avoid paying Canadian taxes, which is the problem.
yeah, and I mean, finding a tax loophole.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, you and me do it. Like everybody does
Allegedly,
it, right?
allegedly. Yes.
Well, a loophole is not illegal, right?
Yeah.
Like you
It's
just figured out.
complying. Yes.
Yeah, it's complying, and I'm like, you set these rules out, and I figured out within your rules, I can save money, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm never gonna find a loophole that I'm gonna pay
Yeah.
more, right? So I'm not gonna fault anybody for finding a legal loophole.
Yes.
Now, definition of that loophole is, oh, well, you register your business there, and there's an office, and you pay a secretary to answer the phone there, and that's the only business you do there. If that qualifies as a business, you can't fault the person for that,
No, but generally when you do that, like to have
right?
it be like, I have offices across the country, but like
Yes.
the Ontario one pays here, and like our head office has to be registered because that's a thing, right? Like it makes a difference. So when you have these multinational corporations and stuff like that,
Yep.
where some of these people are paid out of makes a difference. But then like it's supposed to be that like if you call this your head office,
Yeah.
there actually has to be a head office there, right? Like the whole like, oh,
Yeah.
we have a Swiss bank account or an account in the Caymans and all of this stuff, right? Like when you
Yeah.
move your
It's
business there, you have to do more than just like have a mailing address. It actually needs to be like an office,
right.
right?
Right. But until someone follows through with all that,
Yeah,
like it's just a legal
but
tax
well,
loophole. Like
exactly, and
because you and
that's
me,
yes, but
uh,
the difference though is that like you and I are maybe trying to like not spend as much in our taxes, whereas this guy is now coming in and he's doing everything he can to protect his taxes. Meanwhile, he's telling you and me and everyone else that we don't pay enough tax and that he's going to increase the taxes. And it's like, but
You're not even paying your share of Canadian taxes,
Yeah,
but
so
you
can I
expect us to do that? Like, how
so
about
can
you
I
go fuck
convince
off?
so can I convince the company I work for to open, like, hey, you guys got a janitor's closet we can rent out in this
Yeah.
building you
Yeah,
guys
you
are
can just
talking
pay me
about?
out of there. Yeah.
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 Right,
But it
yeah,
just
but I
shows
mean,
like all the shady things that they're doing, right? And this is the problem is that like, is this guy even like a Canadian if he's not even paying his
that's
share of the taxes? He's running all of these things and like much like all the other elites, like, oh, I'm a regular Joe like you. No,
yeah.
you're not. Like,
Okay,
fuck you.
regular Joe like me. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see your grocery bill compared to your how much you get paid. And now I'm not gonna fault someone for advancing
Yeah.
their career, doing school
No,
and those
absolutely.
opportunities and just like in the right place at the right time and everything. But like stepping down from that and saying, hey, I'm gonna run for party leader.
Yeah,
But
if this
okay,
guy
but
wanted to stay as a finance guy in the banking world, awesome.
yeah, yeah, go for it. And he's doing what he's paid to
Yeah.
do and what everything, right? Like save money. But like don't come from that world and say, hey, I'm here
Yeah.
for you, vote for me. When I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what are your investments? I was like, I don't understand investments.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my brother works for one of the big banks where I'm like, hey, you and me are gonna get together and have a few
Yeah.
drinks. And I was like, you're gonna explain stuff to me because I have so many questions. Because
Yeah.
I'm in my late 30s. Hey, I got to think about I can't do what I do for a living forever.
What?
What's an RRSP? Like I don't understand what that is, right? Like
Yeah.
what the contributions are. And he does. So I'm like, hey, we need to figure that out. So I'm like, show me the struggles, show me this, show me that, and show me what you're actually gonna do for me. Because I
Yeah.
went to the grocery store and I spent five
Yeah.
hundred dollars and this is what I got. I
Yeah.
don't care if
And
you have an unlimited budget. I don't, right? This
yeah.
is my budget and this is what I got. What are you gonna do for me to either bring that down
Yeah.
in cost where I get the same for 450 or I spend 500 and I get more. Because if you're
Yeah.
not doing that, I have no interest in anything.
Well, yeah. And like when these guys come in and tell you, and it's the same thing with like Jagmeet when like he's trying to pretend that he's like the
Fuck.
common everyday man,
Fucking
driving his
Maserati in a four
yeah,
thousand dollar suit.
yeah, and his like collection of Rolexes and all that. It's like I as a business owner, I have no problem with people earning their money and spending it
Yeah.
on lavish things for themselves and all of that. Like you do
Sure.
you, like you've earned those things. And
Yep.
same with this guy, like he's earned those things, but don't now try and come in here and tell me that like I have to pay my share when you're not doing it. Like
Yeah.
as the leader, and especially as a leader that is preaching that, he needs to be above reproach. He needs to be
Yeah.
so squeaky clean that people can respect that. And he's not. And this is
Right.
the problem.
Right. And that's the thing. Like you need to pay your fair share.
Yeah.
I pay my taxes, right? Government mandates me to pay a certain amount for every
Yeah.
dollar I earn, up to a certain amount, and then I get taxed more and blah blah blah, all the tax brackets.
Yeah.
Like I've done my fair share,
Yeah.
right?
And as
Like
the prime minister, like ultimately he is the one that is responsible for sending the cops to your house when you don't pay your taxes, right?
yeah.
That's how I look at it.
And guess what? They're not gonna show up without those guns that are
Yeah.
banned.
And they're certainly not going to show up at his house, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
some more shady things in Brookfield's past. Apparently, they are not so good at respecting the rights of the indigenous people in four countries: Brazil, Canada, Colombia, and the U.S. All involve dams, wind farms, and other operations. Um, and let's see here. In Ontario, Maine, Columbia, Brookfield owned hydroelectric dams and one wind farm, and they allegedly threatened indigenous rights or damaged the environment.
Am I the only one that thinks back to that podcast a year or two ago for book club for the Confessions of an Economic
Yeah.
Hitman?
Yeah,
Like
there's a
what?
lot
What?
of that stuff going on, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
like
in, yeah, in Brazil, they've been accused of deforestation and human rights violations, including attempted eviction of indigenous groups and breach of anti-slave labor laws. So, like, whether he was directly responsible or not, he worked for this company that has all of these shady things going on. And
Yeah. And
right, like it doesn't necessarily mean he's guilty, but like if you hang out with a bunch of gangbangers, there's
mhm.
probably a good chance that you are a gangbanger.
Or at least someone at the gangbang. Is
Yes.
that different?
Yes, you might be the one driving the train, or you might be the one having the train
You know,
driven on you.
ran
Either
on.
way, not
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
like you are
and
the people that you hang out with, right?
yeah, and I hate to say it, but like those giant umbrella, giant companies, right? Like I work for one of those giant companies, and like
Yeah.
someone could come up to me and say something and just be like, "Yeah, sure, I work for the company, but I don't work for that department." Fine,
Yeah.
yes, you could
Well,
say
and
that's a scapegoat. And just saying, like, depending on it is, right? Just because you work for a certain company doesn't mean you fall under the
no,
whole umbrella of the company.
no,
Now,
absolutely
if
not.
you look
Especially
in,
when you're at like a lower level, but like when
yeah,
you're
but
like
it'll,
upper management, like
but
you have a
even
say in
then,
what's going on.
I'll
Yes.
even say there it all
Yes.
depends, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying we should not look into it, but I'm just saying we should do our due diligence and
Yes.
look into it. And if you
Absolutely.
were part of whatever, then
Yes.
you should be held accountable, but not just
Yeah. But
right.
like
Say this news article like, "Hey, look what this company did," and be like, "Well, he has to be associated." He's most
no.
likely just because of the position he holds or he
Yes.
held,
No,
sorry,
that's
and all
fair.
that stuff. And
Agreed. Yes, you can't
yeah,
just assume because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. But if you
yes.
look at a pattern of behavior
Oh,
for
we can't. Whoa. We can't do that because he's
no, no,
liberal.
no,
Because
no,
then it all
we
falls
can do
apart
that.
real
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, we can do that. Um, like it's a pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of
Yeah.
behavior for the company that he worked for. It's a pattern of behavior for he himself personally.
Hmm.
So, like a lot of
Yeah.
things
I
kind of
don't.
keep the more you dig into this, and I think this is why, Rod said it, and I agree with it. The longer this guy is there in the running, the more we'll learn to dislike him. And that's why they
I mean,
tried to make the campaign time as short as possible. Right? Because
yeah.
if they've gone for the longer one, that would have been more time to dig into this guy's past. And we're already 2 weeks in, and look at like every week it has not been a struggle to find articles about how shady he is. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I mean,
yes,
we
we're
have
maybe
a
a
high
little
tech.
biased, but
Yeah, I mean, I we'll say we're biased, but like we're not. Like,
yeah.
okay, so we talk shit just about NDP conservatives. Like, yes,
Oh yeah.
probably everybody on the panelists is way more conservative and hoping the conservatives get in due to political promises, saying they're gonna
Yeah.
revamp the FRT, revamp the fucking gun laws,
Yeah.
how they do everything. They're gonna take away certain things, and unfortunately, some of it has to go through legal process
Yeah.
compared to the OICs and everything. So, like, yeah, we may be a little whatever, but
Yeah.
if this was Pierre Poliev, we would not have thrown this by
No.
the wayside. We would be
No.
talking about it. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunately nobody's dug up anything
Yeah.
questionable like this on the people on the party that at least most
Yeah.
panelists and probably most listeners want to vote. So
Although
if you
I did hear one thing today that I did not know about our PP.
okay,
Apparently, his dad is gay. So
is he
like his
still
parent,
allowed to be leader?
yeah. But this is
According
the
to them.
funny, but like I'm just yeah, I had no idea.
That's
But like yeah, apparently his parents like adopted him, and all that, and they had the struggle, two school teachers and all that. But apparently like they split up, and like his probably because his dad is gay, he's not really into women,
yeah.
and that's a but so you get all these people now that are like, oh, the conservative again, going back to kind of like
Yeah,
the
they're
women's right
against the
thing from
gays,
earlier, and it's
right?
like,
Yeah.
but how against the gay? Like, I mean, I guess anything is possible, right? Like there are
Yeah.
people that are, against their own people all the time, but like, how really against the gays can he be if his dad is gay? and he still has a good relationship with his parents.
Okay, that's where I was getting at. I was like, does he have a good
Right?
relationship
Like,
with them, or does he hope he
right? Like,
dies? Right? Like
yes.
the like you can go down
Yeah, it's
rabbit holes,
funny.
but
Like,
it's just
it's funny that, they're not like, I mean, one, he's not using that as a look at me, I have a
yeah.
gay in the
Look,
family, right? He's not pandering
yeah,
to that, which is kind
yeah.
of
He doesn't
nice.
have his dad and
But
his boyfriend come on stage and kiss and be like,
yeah,
"See, I'm good." Like, yeah.
but
So I
yeah,
mean, good on him for that.
but
But
but again, yeah, like how against them can he be if he's got a close family member that is? Like, why would he
yeah,
try to take away his father's rights and all of the things? But anyways, side thing. But yeah,
yeah.
we learn things about people all the time, but it just seems that yeah, like
I,
no one has really dug up anything that bad about this. I mean, there's been some people that have dug up some stuff about Carney's dad and, residential schools, and he may or may not have used the word Negro and retarded, but like,
nice.
again, that was his dad, not him, so I can't blame him for the things that his father said.
But also,
And
have you
also,
ever
but
have
at
you
the
ever stubbed your
time,
toe at 3 o'clock in the morning and not be
yeah,
responsible for your
yeah,
words?
yes.
Right?
But also at the time when all of this was happening, those were the words that we were using, and
Yeah.
he did use the retard word in the correct context. He wasn't referring to as a person as that, but anyways, I digress again. But it was a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
There's a video about it. You can go and see it. You can have a laugh. But again, that's his dad, not him. So I won't hold him to that. But again, it does also paint a picture. Um, Speaking of painting a picture, so
Mm,
Carney was out in Alberta doing his, tour, just like Pierre is, just like Jagmeet is. Well, I guess maybe not just like Jagmeet. Jagmeet's on the bang bus with the OnlyFans people. Um, doesn't have a
yeah.
plane because there's no money. Everyone else is flying around the country with jets. Jagmeet is just totally just riding the bang bus. But anyways,
There were two Carney bang buses not
yeah,
too far from where I live right now. Like I
yeah.
pulled up and I was just like, fuck.
Oh, I'm
Like
sure they
thank
fly there and they have a bus waiting that's decaled up
uh,
for the day, and then they rip them off, and then he goes back on the plane. Whereas Jagmeet is
yeah,
just on the bang
and
bus, the orange bang bus all day, every day.
yeah,
Um,
but
but
yeah,
yeah, so Carney was in Alberta, and he's up there and he's talking and all the things, and he kind of starts shit talking Alberta's premier, Danielle Smith.
drink carefully there.
And like that, and like, yeah, not a good choice. But that it could also explain while they were expecting 12,000 people plus at a rally in Alberta to support Pierre
Yeah,
at the same time. Like
because I got a feeling
it's
he's not gonna shit talk. He's
it's
gonna be
it's
like,
one thing, yeah, when
I'm,
the candidates kind of take shots at each other. Again, they really shouldn't be taking shots at each other personally. They should be taking shots at the other person's platform,
yes,
maybe pointing out some things here and there in a diplomatic way. Like, it's one thing to question why has he not disclosed his investments and all of that stuff, right? But don't take personal shots at people, and
no,
especially
especially
at the
not.
well, at the provincial level. So
Yeah,
he's potentially going to have, if he wins, which I fucking hope he doesn't, but if he wins, he's going to have to deal with her until at least the next provincial election in Alberta. How
yeah,
are you going to have a
and
working relationship when you're up there in front of everyone shit talking them?
yeah, and and I mean, provincial, like he's obviously shit talking for provincial standings and what that person's
Well,
done and this that blah blah blah, right? Provincial, like you as a federal leader don't necessarily have say 100% in what the
yeah,
province districts this shit what's the word um okay, I don't know, but what the province decides that hey, this is what we want to do at a provincial level. Now at a federal level they do have to have some wiggle room where
yeah,
hey, fine, we need to abide by provincial law or federal
yeah,
laws, jurisdictions, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But at a provincial level, the constituents of that province decided this is how we want to live. Unless it goes against something crazy, which even then is up for debate, in my opinion, of federally.
Yeah.
You don't have any lick in the skin. Like
Yeah.
you got nothing.
Well,
You don't have
and,
anything to
like,
fucking say.
and currently, like, if you look at like provincial politics for Alberta, they have a majority conservative government.
Yep.
Now that majority dropped a little bit. So they needed 44 seats to have a majority, and they have 49. So
They got more than a majority.
yeah, more than that.
Yeah.
Now it was at 63 previous.
Jesus.
So it did drop a little bit, but that is still a majority, which
Yep.
would mean that the majority of people are conservative. And so going and like trying to shit talk the person that they've put in power while,
Probably won't get you much votes.
yeah. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
you could end up weird, like, if you look at Ontario, and especially like where I am right now, provincially we vote conservative and have the last few times, but federally we voted liberal. So
Liberal.
like that happens,
Yeah, it does. But
which is super weird.
which is super stupid.
Super
Not
weird.
even weird, just stupid.
But like it happens. So like it's possible, but like by going and doing that, you were alienating them. So like you're still trying to bring these people onto your side so they vote for you because you need those votes.
Yep. And I mean,
Yeah.
unless they're already banking on, I mean, as we have talked about, first past the post is
Yeah.
thing that should have been dissolved. How the writings go or counts go for areas. Alberta's
Yeah.
not a big count, right? Like 90% of all the votes end up in Ontario, Quebec, and like a little bit out of that, but due
Yeah.
to just population, how many writings we have, how many counts vote for certain areas, they can tell Alberta to go fuck themselves and still will win the election by a landslide because
Oh,
they
absolutely.
favor
Yeah.
everybody else somewhere else. But I still
Yeah.
think it's a very douchey way of doing things.
Yes. Yeah, you just don't do that. Like it's not good.
Mm.
It doesn't make you look good. It's like
It's unprofessional.
yes.
Like
Oh.
if someone brings it up and just be like, look, we can have a difference of opinion, difference on political views, but like this is someone I may have to
Yeah.
work with at some point, and I'm like, we are gonna have to find neutral ground or common ground.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep the things that we disagree about off the table, and we're gonna bring about, hey, how do you
Yep.
at the federal level, how does this profit all of Canada? At the provincial level, how does this profit Alberta?
Yeah. But I mean it's
You
stuff
gotta
like
find medium.
yeah, it's stuff like this that like I mean there's some initiative
Pisses
stuff
me
going
off.
on right now between Alberta and Quebec where I mean normally they're kind of at odds with one another because of all the money that goes from Alberta to
Alberta
Quebec.
to Quebec, and
But Danielle Smith did reach out to Quebec and was like, "Hey, we're having some like issues here with like government overreach on the federal side, so maybe we should like get together and talk about some of this stuff and push back against it. And instead of like fighting each other, we work together to be like, hey, feds, fuck off, because this is not your say, it's our say."
yeah, which is
And
probably surprising because they probably didn't talk in French to the Quebec people, and
no,
surprising they agreed.
but they still got understood. And yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they drew pictures. But this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. So all that he's doing now is fueling that fire to get her even more angry at the federal government. And like, I mean, to be fair, he didn't say anything that bad, but I mean, he kind of
No,
joked that like she doesn't
but
shut up and all like, and it's like, but it's still not professional.
but no, but any jab in any scenario
Yeah.
or whatever, like that's not the person you're going against. Like you have no jurisdiction
Yeah.
over who is elected in
It's pointless.
in
It
that
does
province.
nothing. Yeah.
It does nothing other than either the people that didn't vote for her get them riled up, or get the
Yeah.
people that voted for her riled up, or the people that
Yeah.
were kind of like, let's see if this is a change. But then all of a sudden they were like, that guy was an asshole. Let's get her back in. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're causing just a bigger divide. So yeah, just
Yeah.
really douchey
Yeah.
as per
Yeah.
lib standards.
Yeah. So par for the course. Flipping it over now to some conservative news.
Ooh.
So we don't
Who
just
fucked
shit
it up?
on one people. We shit on all the people if it's appropriate. Former conservative BC candidate says party removed him over past podcast comments. This is also probably why people don't come on to our podcasts that are in politics. But real estate agent, I want to say Lawrence, but it's Lawrence Singh, which is a super weird
House.
way of spelling that. He's told that his remarks about China did not align with the party's principles. And I would tend to agree.
What was the
He,
comment?
I'm trying to find the exact comment here. But yes, he was shocked to learn that news about the abrupt informed me that they would be ending my candidacy. You know, he needed to gather himself before he proceeded what he's going to say. But his comment on the podcast. So 5 minutes into this episode here, I'm trying to find what podcast it is because
Yeah,
the
I haven't seen
podcast
that.
called A Little Bit Serious with Sahib from February 2021. So 5 minutes or so into the episode, you know, the host criticizes the Chinese government for restricting free speech. Then Singh responds by saying, I feel in the Western culture, they believe democracy is the only legitimate or practical form of government. But the system for China works. They've built big cities and people are now thriving based on their reforms and policies the government is implementing in China.
Mm, I don't necessarily.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like akin to Trudeau getting up there and saying that he admires China's basic dictatorship. Like, yes, slavery gets shit done.
I mean,
But
government regulation just being like, yeah, you have no choice. We need roads built. You no longer have a job here, and you have to do like.
Yeah.
I get it, but I haven't listened to the podcast, and I probably
I
won't.
haven't either, but I mean when you're in favor of restricting free speech, I am instantly going to think that you're a moron.
Agree. Agree.
I believe that like whatever distasteful things anybody wants to say, they should have the ability to say those things without the government getting involved. That doesn't mean there are no
Yeah.
consequences. There are certainly
within
social
and within
consequences.
reason of
Yes.
those comments.
Yes. People can't just beat you up because of that. But
Yeah.
if people are like, you know what? I don't like you. I'm not going to speak to you anymore, or I'm not going to let you enter my business, or all of those things are totally acceptable
Yep.
and should be used to deal with a lot of these issues with people that are like,
In government now, or
well, it's just
Whoops.
like, I mean, yes, but like
yeah,
not fitting in with society.
yeah, and
Like social consequence is a thing, and the government shouldn't get involved and tell people what they can and cannot say. It is up to the community to enforce the community standards.
Yeah.
And that's where they do it by going, you know what? I didn't like what you said. So you can't come and eat in my
Yeah.
restaurant anymore. You can't buy groceries in my grocery store anymore. Totally
right,
acceptable.
and that should never be
Yeah.
really government regulated, in my opinion. That should just be like, let
Yeah.
the people decide.
Yeah.
Like,
and
so someone in Alberta should not dictate whether the person in my town that said something, right, should close or not. Let the people in that area either
Yeah.
decide to make that company strive or make that company fail. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter about a Walmart. If
Yeah.
someone somewhere decides like, hey, we're boycotting Walmart, and
Yeah.
nobody goes into that Walmart, that Walmart is out of there. Does not matter
Yeah.
how big that multi-billion-dollar company is. There's
Yeah,
going
they're
to be a
gone.
point where they're going to pull the plug. Does
Yeah,
not matter.
it's not making
Right?
money, so they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so his response here is the reason that the party dismissed me was that my remarks on this podcast differed from the party's hardline anti-Chinese government stance. Well, but when the
okay.
Chinese government is actively trying to get the Liberal Party in power and has like all of these weird shady deals, like
Yeah. Or
it's
police stations.
Right, like Brookfield
Yeah.
took out a massive loan from China. There's all of these politicians that were trying to get, you know, influence from China. Like they were gonna send off the other guy to get executed and get a bounty on his
Yep.
head. Like,
No.
yeah, of course they're gonna be against that. And they're not against China,
No.
as Trump would say. They're against the
China.
communist Chinese government,
Yeah.
which is
They're
a
against
big
the.
problem in our side. Like, and
Yep.
going on, so you get another thing here where like Carney gets up and he's talking about fentanyl, right? And he's saying that in the States, there is a fentanyl crisis. In Canada, it's a challenge, but it is not a crisis.
Hmm.
Where, if you had to guess, Pierre, where do you think that the most of the illegal fentanyl or the chemicals to make fentanyl come from?
Fucking Canada. Why? Because they restricted the border against Mexico, and it's been a giant thing that nobody wants to talk about, and we don't want to go into this rabbit hole at this time. But almost all the fentanyl related to any drug things in the US or whatever is not done, well, is done partially maybe by Canadians, but the cartels,
Yeah.
the triads, all
Sorry,
those
where was that
entities.
last one from?
Oh, okay, right.
China.
But they are all being mostly
Yes.
produced in Canada now because they've dropped the hammer in the US.
Yeah.
And
But a
people coming
lot of
from
that, so the cartels are absolutely involved, and they are the ones that are
100%,
distributing some of that stuff.
100%.
But where that fentanyl is manufactured, or where the chemicals that are used to manufacture it in other places in the world, it comes from China.
Yes.
We know this. And
Yep.
given that China is a communist country, there are no big companies that exist without some sort of government oversight or ties or anything. So the
No.
Chinese government, at the very least, is turning a blind eye to this because it benefits them and their nation.
Yep. Which,
So you get this guy with all of these ties and all of these things. So yeah, of course the Conservative Party is going to have a hardline view on the communist Chinese government that is trying to fuck them as a party and us as a country. Yeah.
yep.
So if you support that, out of the fucking party you go. No issues with that.
And I mean, okay, I might want to listen to him more and be like, hey, look, this is why I agree with the Conservative Party. And maybe he wants to elaborate on certain things.
yeah.
I'm open to, hey, let's get him on the podcast. Like, hey, I didn't listen to his podcast, and if that's a
Well,
pre-requirement, I'm
Yeah, he's
50-50 on
already
getting him
out
on
of the
here.
party, so maybe he'll get on
Right.
this show and like try
Right.
to
But
clarify his statement.
right, but I mean, I am kind of curious on what his thought process was on it, because
Yeah.
just because he said something doesn't mean, and you interpreted it a different way,
Yeah.
does not mean, right, whatever. So he's just saying like, hey, look, right, the free speech thing, yeah, we both disagree on that. But he's saying like, hey, look, they built cities and
Yes.
the economy is thriving. Okay, that's good. The way they did it is wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're better off than they were years ago. So
Yes,
yeah,
but
it's
at
just
what cost, right? Like, and that's
right.
the thing. But like,
that's a liberal thing to ask.
yeah.
We're not going to
They
get
all,
into
I mean,
that.
they,
But
yeah, they're all about the, like, I mean, even Carney in his book or whatever, like, I can pull up the quote here, but like, had a thing about that, and I think it's relevant here. So give me 2 seconds while I find this quote, because I posted it on my Book of Faces earlier, and I think it kind of applies.
because it talks about him and restricting free speech and all of the things. I've been posting a lot of political stuff here. Give me a moment. There it is. So this is taken from his book Values: Building a Better World for All. So Mark Carney said, Western society is morally rotten and it has been corrupted by capitalism. This requires rigid controls of personal freedoms, industry, and corporate funding. This is not a promise to make the lives of ordinary people better, but temporarily worse. This will be a world of severely constrained choice. Less flying, less meat, more inconvenience, and temporarily more poverty. Assets will be stranded, gasoline cars will be unsellable, and inefficient properties will be unrentable.
So I will say I didn't agree with some of his statement, which was mostly like the first like 6 words he said. Right. The rest of it I don't agree with. But
But
that's
he is not, and this is the problem. So should we maybe do some of
not
these
you the
things?
problem.
Yeah.
Not the one that's
Yeah.
listening. It's a different problem.
But should some of those things maybe be done because it's good for the environment or this, that, or whatever? Maybe, but forcing people to do those things is wrong. Forcing people to do the right thing is not doing the right thing.
Yeah, no.
And that's the problem. And they're willing to do that, or at least they're willing to force you to do what they think is the right thing, whether it's the right thing or not.
That's the thing, right? Because like you and me chatted for many, many times, had many, many drinks together and everything. We probably agree on everything. 99.99% of the time.
Major things anyways, I would say.
But at least the things we decide to disagree is not a deal breaker.
Yes.
You and
it's
me
usually
go to the
little
gulag.
Yeah, it's usually the little
even if it's a big thing because you interpret it as a big thing. It's just difference of opinion does not mean you or me are the enemy.
No.
It should just be like, okay, you have a right to state your facts and everything, and I want to disagree with it. I need to be open on your point of view and want to have a conversation that you and me may have a difference of opinion. You may say stuff I don't like, and I need to find a safe space afterwards, but vice versa, where my opinion, right, in most people's, well, I shouldn't say most, actually, probably in the minority of people that are open to like, let's have a discussion. Like, explain to me your point of view and why you stand by something, and I will tell you mine, and vice versa. And we will either agree to disagree, or at least I have a better understanding of someone that may be on that point of view or that side of the view compared to mine, and hopefully you have the same, and we can start spreading knowledge or just understanding,
or at least people become more informed in general. And I will say, like, the person that I was having the kind of debate with earlier, that I talked about earlier in the show, since and it's kind of been going over the last couple of days, they did send me a message, like a private message today, and were asking me to clarify some things for them. And I'm always happy to do that, to be like, look, like this is, and I think this is one of the biggest problems, is there's a lot of people that don't understand how our system of government works, because it's ridiculous and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But at the end of it all, neither of us were annoyed with one another. Like, I mean, I did get a little annoyed in the thing, because I'm like, oh my God, how could you, like, how do you not, like, but I wasn't.
I wouldn't do this. It looks weird.
I wasn't annoyed with them like as a person per se, but just annoyed with the whole, like, how do you not see that? Yeah. But they did, say at the end of all of that, like, thank you for listening and talking and doing those things, because, like, it's important. I said I
And,
agree. Like discourse is important. Having these conversations is important so that we can find that middle ground. And like, if someone was like, look, we really need to figure out a way to like save the environment, and driving around in like gas burning cars indefinitely is definitely going to cause some environmental problems like that. Yeah,
okay, yeah,
but
I
them just
don't
going,
disagree.
no, you have to drive an electric car and only an electric car. That's not right. You can't do that. And same with the
No,
whole like
and
meat
I'm
thing,
not.
right? Like, oh, we've only got so much space for like cows, and it's like an eating lower on the food chain. You can have all of those things out there that make sense, and some of them I agree with on a scientific level. But
Not
also,
immorally, but
yeah, also I like eating steak, so I will continue to eat steak. And if you don't like that, you can eat
yeah,
all of the vegetables and all of the bugs that you want.
yeah, but just know that I'm eating twice as much meat to
Yeah.
counter effect the
Yeah.
one, right? Like, but
And
and
get up on your soapbox and preach about it. Just don't tell me that I can't.
right, and I'm not opposed to. Hey, I don't necessarily disagree that fossil fuels, gas engines, diesels,
Yeah.
probably it's not good for the environment. I
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing that. But you telling me I have to buy a Tesla
Yes.
is not the solution. So I'm open to okay, let's figure out something. Tesla's not the way. Okay, fine. Yeah, they have batteries, they have this, they're affordable. Okay. Well, I have a trailer. So if I buy um a Tesla is rated, let's just say for
Yeah.
example, 600 kilometers. So I could drive from my house to Gavin's house. But what happens if I put an extra 300 pounds in the vehicle?
Yeah. Not
Can
gonna
I
make
make it
it.
there?
No.
Right? So now, okay, so I work hard for my money. I have a trailer.
Yeah.
I like to go to secluded places and camp, shoot, slash hunt. Can you accommodate that in a non-gas combustible engine? Right?
Currently, no, not
And
really. Unless
and
that
and
place is real close to your house.
yeah, right. And that's the giant disconnect from everybody's point
Yeah.
of view from I want to do this, I want to do that. Oh, you drive I drive a V8, it's a 6.6 gas. That
Yeah.
motherfucker burns fuel, right? Cost me an arm and a leg to fill up. If
Yeah.
I'm not towing, it does stuff. If I put weight on the back, it costs me a lot. I
Yeah.
don't do diesel because of we can get into a whole other thing about death and
Yeah.
diesel engines. How
Ugh, yeah.
that's yeah, we're not doing that
Yeah,
at this time,
yeah,
but
it's-
right. But
again, yeah. Yeah.
it's just okay, fine. Like I don't disagree that combustible engines and what they do to the environment is a thing
There's
we
an
need to take
impact.
in. Yeah, there is an impact, but you have not found anything to
Yeah.
compensate or accommodate the requirements of what that gas engine needs to do. And
Yeah.
I'm all up for funding, right, in quotations of,
Yeah.
okay, fine. Yeah, let's find something else. It might not be Tesla batteries. Is it water with a steam engine? Not burning coal, something that has less
Yeah.
effect. Like
It's
I'm all up for it.
incremental
But
change is going to make a difference, right? And that's why
yeah,
like the going to a and I don't even think we should mandate this, but going to a hybrid car versus a full electric is going to bridge that gap and do a
it
much better
it
job.
does. It
And
100%
it's a
does,
realistic solution to the problem.
right? But also I still haven't figured out why Tesla, I mean hybrids kind of do it, but like I fix equipment for a living, right?
Yeah.
I fix diesel, I fix gas, I work on strictly 24-volt electric systems. And I'm like, how have we or nobody has figured out why for example, Tesla, full electric car, has four wheels going 120 kilometers down down the highway, it's not figured out how to get those tires and rotors turning at such a high efficiency, not be able to recharge batteries or
Yeah.
strictly run on driving and not those batteries, right? It's like
Well,
now we're getting into a whole other rabbit hole
well,
of
yeah,
like, right, hybrids. I'm not opposed to hybrids. I'm 100% against fully electric vehicles.
well, but
Hybrids, better of two evils. You're kind of
well, yeah,
meet in the
hey,
middle.
if somebody wants one, I don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah,
But just
you
yeah,
do
my
you, boo.
problem is
Yeah.
the mandatoriness of it all, right?
Yeah,
Like,
now I can't have my 2500 Chevy
ah,
because it's a 6.6
like
gas. I have an
no,
issue with it.
yeah, like
But,
sorry, but like no, that's not
right,
how
but
that works. And
no,
that's the
and
thing. Is like so yes, does like having all of this crazy government regulation and all of this and control sometimes work in certain places? Absolutely. Like, how do you think the fucking pyramids got made? Although maybe that's changing now that, we've learned that there's like
aliens.
2 kilometer long weird spiral things under it or whatever. But based on our understanding of things right now, they were built by the slaves. Like, so did it work? Yeah, it worked. But was it the right thing to do? No.
Eh,
Just like, and
not
the best
not
way I've heard
really,
this
but it.
explained was Penn from Penn and Teller fame had
Oh
a whole
fuck.
thing, a whole video series or whatever, like he did like about leaving the left, right? So like he's a weird hippie art dude that like is totally a lefty. But
Yep.
when it got down to it, and he sort of had it explained to him in this way, and it seemed maybe a bit of a exaggerated thing, but ultimately this is what it all comes down to. And it's the like, okay, say your best friend needs money. And your other like your mutual friend comes up and goes, hey, like our friend is like really, hurting right now, and like they really need some money. Like, do you have anything to spare? You go, all right, like, yeah, I guess like I can help them out, and you donate the money to your friend so that they can, help themselves and get it back on
Right.
their feet, right? Like that's a
Everybody needs hookers and blow from time to time.
yeah, exactly,
Now.
right? Like that is a very noble thing to do. You are helping your friend out of the goodness of your heart and all of that, and like it was totally voluntary, right? Like your friend
Yep.
came to you and asked for them, right? So there wasn't even like the guilt trip and you didn't have to feel bad. But what if your friend comes up to you and goes, "Hey, they could really use some money. Are you going to help?" And you go, "You know what? Like I would really love to, but like, like I, someone just smashed into my car and I had to pay that, and then like,
Yep.
have you seen the
Like,
cost of eggs lately?" And like,
yeah.
and you're like, it's just really tough. And like, if I had money to help them, I totally would help them. But I literally do not have a penny to spare. And they pull out a gun and point it at you and go, well, tough luck. You need to give me $50 to help them. It's like, well, you're doing the right thing by helping out the person that needs it. But in order
But
to
you're just
get that, you're doing the wrong thing. So is
yeah.
doing the wrong thing to get the right thing to happen the right? No, it's
No.
not. And
And also,
ultimately,
that's just government at the
yeah,
end of the day. Like
that's
that's
how they
just
do
government.
it. If
Like
there's a rule and the rule says you have to pay taxes, well, what happens when you don't pay taxes, right? They
they
maybe
show
send you
up.
a few letters and then you
Yeah,
don't
they may
answer
not
them,
show
and
up and point the gun at your head, but
not
there's
right
gonna be
away.
someone with no, but there's gonna be someone with
But
a gun that shows up at some point
ultimately,
and says,
yes, that is
"Yeah,
because that is the answer to, well, what if, right? Like if you don't back that up with that state sanctioned violence, there is no reason to follow any of the rules. And if somebody hurts somebody and everything, then yeah, they deserve that. But
yeah,
if you're not hurting anyone and you're just like, I would love to help you, I just can't right now.
yeah."
Why do
There's
you
nothing wrong
deserve
with that.
violence being done on you? And that's
Yeah,
ultimately what it all comes down to. And that's the like, yeah, some of this stuff, right or noble or just, sure, but the way that you go about it matters.
Yes. And nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah, no, because that's
Yeah.
nonsense.
Important.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip a couple here and we'll just go to this last one here about young people. Because I think this is an important one. According to the CBC, so trust that as much as you will.
Trust that as much as a fart after having Wendy's and chili at the same time.
Yeah, and having eaten like an entire bar of X-Lax. Why young voters might not vote this federal election. Youth votes could swing this election, but data shows they don't tend to vote as much as older demographics. So they're using data from 2021 general election where 46.7% of electors age 18 to 24 cast a ballot. That's lower than other age groups.
Oh,
They're right. So historically, young people
don't vote. Yes, correct. And I will say 90% of the reasoning for that, at least at my still young age, is due to very shitty education that they do not understand the importance of every person does vote. Does not matter if you are in a writing that's going to vote complete opposite of you anyways, showing that you voted opposite of what everybody else voted still plays a factor.
Yeah.
It's still something. So I will say half of this, like I mean, I'll say when I was in school and we had that, fuck, what's that class called?
Civics?
Civics class. Yes, bro, I didn't learn shit compared to just talking with like-minded people since doing this podcast.
I think
Like,
that's part of the problem is that you were having that
and,
in school, and that's
yeah, and I'm not opposed to it being in school.
but it
I'm
needs to
opposed
actually
to,
be what it's supposed to be and not what
I'm a,
it's yeah.
I'm opposed to it being really shitty resources.
Yes.
Where it's just like, right, civics was like a half semester. You did civics and right, so a semester was what, 3 months, 3.5, right? So you did civics on one half of it, which was whatever, and the other half was something else. And it'll dawn on me if you get a message at like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's because I remembered what the other half of civics was. But
Yeah.
right, so I think that's what the giant problem is, right? Like,
Yeah.
my parents have never missed an election or a vote, municipal, provincial, federal. I missed the last municipal, which might have been, I missed the last one in
Yeah.
Ontario, right? And I was just like, I don't care, which is wrong because
Yeah, but I think
I
part
got
of that is
really
just
shitty, really shitty education. You don't understand the vote. You don't understand the system. All this stuff. So I think that needs to be a giant thing that needs to get fixed, which
yeah.
probably never will. But yeah, it's
No,
just
so when I was in high school, it wasn't called civics, it was called politics.
ooh, you got away with that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Um,
Yeah.
it probably is one of the few classes in high school that I actually like enjoyed, especially like at a higher level, because in a way I think it
It
made
makes you
it
think.
well, and
And
that's what I liked
it
about
made
it.
it personal. It made it
Well,
personal
and so
as well.
it challenged me because I had to, and like we weren't necessarily picking topics that we believed in, or it was okay, you two people have to debate this topic. One of you is on one side and the other is on the other side.
Okay.
And you've got like the week to research it and present an argument from that side. So we did that over and over and over and over
Yep.
again.
Nonstop, nonstop. Yep.
And
I
so
remember that.
you learned how to have debates about stuff. And you
Even if you
actually,
had a personal
well,
issue
and
with
that
it,
and
or
that was kind of the interesting thing, is that like sometimes you were arguing for a side that you didn't agree with, but you're doing it from an academic level. So you had to kind of get over the personal feelings about it and just do the debate.
yeah, it's
And that was good because it would challenge you to actually be factual and to do the thing and do it properly. And I think, I mean, that is
and
something
also
I love. Like I mean that Angela
yeah,
kind of hates it sometimes, and so does my father. But like when we go and have like family dinners and stuff like that, like there's a lot of political stuff, and my mother and I will get into these deep debates about stuff because there's a lot of stuff that we kind of don't agree on, but we respect each other's opinions, and they can sometimes feel kind of heated because we both get excited.
into
But
your
we get
field.
but not even
Yeah,
into the fields. We both just get excited that we're challenging one another, but like
yeah.
not in an argumentative like,
No,
no,
but
you're
just
fucking
like,
stupid. But it's just it's
but
that
it's also
mental
someone.
exercise, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
but it's also someone on the opposite side that is bringing
yeah,
fact to the
yes, and
conversation, not just bullshit,
and you
right?
have
Like,
to defend yourself, right? But like in a
yeah,
not in a, oh, you're a racist or whatever nonsense they do now, right? It was, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what about this? And it goes back and forth. And for me, like, I love it. It's fun. It's a challenge. It's
yeah, yeah.
exciting. And
I
like you,
I love having those debates, right? Like,
yeah,
it's it's like one of the best things. I haven't had one in a while, so if for some reason you're a liberal and you listen to this show, get in touch with me because
yeah,
bro, nothing is gonna make me
yeah.
happier,
And I mean,
right?
the
Like,
problem, yeah, brings up the good point here is that when you argue from the liberal perspective, you don't use facts, you play on emotions. And sadly, that is what has it become. It
yeah,
truly has.
right, 100%. And I mean,
Yeah.
right, and I mean, let's not even talk politics. Let's get people into talking about difference of opinion on religion.
Literally
Um,
anything. Literally
yeah,
anything. Like they can argue over pineapple
yeah,
on pizza and they will
yeah.
still like, it'll
Or
get
why you
personal
think,
and like,
right? Why you think soy milk is better than almond milk? Let's just have
yeah,
that debate and get people
right.
like, yeah, having
Yeah.
those open debates of, and at the end of
Yeah.
the day, having the understanding that because that person thinks
Yeah.
differently than you is not because they're a Nazi, but just let's understand their point of view, our point of view, and I think we
Yeah.
need to get back into that, which is
Oh,
obviously
absolutely.
going to be like I'm
Yeah.
hopefully my grandchildren get to that point if I ever
Yeah.
have any.
And like, I think the CBC here is doing a disservice. While I think historically they might be correct in that young people don't traditionally get out and vote.
Yes.
And I think some of the reasons that they're saying for this are true, right?
Yeah, they're right. They're not wrong.
But I think that this election is going to be different. Uh,
Fingers crossed.
yeah. So, I mean, some of the comments are saying is that, young people don't watch the news. We don't do any of that. So we're not really aware of what's going on if it's not on social media. Well, now social
Yeah.
media is driving a lot of political change around the world.
Way
So
more than the news, in my opinion. And
the,
I don't even have social media.
yeah. And like, I think traditional media outlets are losing some steam. CBC, we're talking about you. Like, so young people are becoming more and more informed. They're saying that, oh,
But
it's not
but
intriguing, it's not eye-catching.
No,
Right,
but I
but
think it is becoming more so. Like if you look at, I mean, I don't necessarily think this is a good thing, but I think that Canadian politics are becoming more Americanized in like the sensationalist ads and all of those things that you see.
yeah, but I'll also say like socialist media is also gone way by down the wayside because you can get into a crazy echo chamber. So if
Yes,
you
that's the
right
problem with the
if
algorithms. Yes.
yeah, those algorithms, if I'm more conservative, I'll see way more conservative ads. If I'm had more liberal, I'll see more liberal stuff of being like why
Yeah.
Pierre Polyev is bad and why uh the Carney guy is way
Yeah.
better. So I have my reservations about people getting information from social medias. Find me a social media that is not biased and just puts
Oh, yeah.
information out.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you look
I'm
at
all
like
up.
COVID as a whole, like we know for a
Yeah.
fact that there was all kinds of
Mhm.
information that was being suppressed. But also sometimes, and I hate to say it though, that like there's some things that are coming out on there that aren't being shared anywhere else. And so it's the only place that you can hear
But
about them.
also depends on
But yes, you
how
need to be
how.
in
Yeah,
the
you
right
need to be
algorithm to
yeah,
get those things. Yeah. And that's,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. And
there,
that's also the problem.
yeah, one of the other comments here is that the assumption is that every household is having conversations about voting and that people know what to expect and what to
Nope.
do, how to do it. I would agree that, yeah, that's not
Yep.
happening. That's because,
No,
again,
it's
like
not.
we've said many, many times, you've been told for so many years that the politics and religion are things that you
Right.
don't talk about, except that now
No.
we're in the point where, like, not talking
Right.
about them has led to people not being able to talk about them.
Right. Like religion is not a thing we talk about. Right.
No, and we should.
My dad is a deacon. Right. My dad has wanted to be a deacon since he started having kids. Now that we're all out, we're all adults. He's a deacon now. Um, I'm from a family of 5 kids. My dad is 9 kids. My mom's 7 kids. Like I got fucking what 21 grandkids or sorry cousins, including my family, just on one side of the family, right? Like giant Catholic family. We do not talk
Mhm.
politics. We do not talk religion.
Well, you don't need
I
to.
grew
You're
up.
all.
Well, I grew up Catholic,
Yeah.
and I was like, bro, I can't tell you the last time I went up and ate that
Dry
tasty
wafer,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, the dry wafer and had wine, right? Like I have gone a few times because my daughter's in a Catholic school, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna do this because it's easier now. You
Yeah,
can choose whatever you choose as I have chosen
yeah.
now." And like I've had discussions with my dad, and I'm like, there's been a point where I'm just like, "Dad, we're done." And I'm like, if we're not, I was like, I'm out. Like, and
Yeah.
I should not be leaving. Like, but there's a giant disconnect from upbringing, personal views, how life has treated you to change
Yeah.
your point of view from how you have been brought up, right? Like there was no such thing as sleeping in on a Sunday at my house.
Yeah.
You were dragged out by your feet to go to church.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I didn't, I'm not
No, but
disagreeing with anybody, but
all of
right.
those experiences have made you who you are and have given you a certain perspective on life. But
Hmm.
that's why we should have these conversations because I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think that like there's a lot of good things in religions. Give people
There,
structure. However, there's a lot of bad things in religion as well that make people do things because some imaginary character up in the sky said this or that or whatever. But there's some good things, there's some bad things. Some people need it, other people don't.
yeah.
Take it for what it is. But again, it's
And
a
I'm
thing we should be able to talk about.
yeah, and I'm not if you want to have a conversation about it,
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you you're wrong, but also come saying I'm not wrong either. Let's just
Yes.
have an open dialogue
Yeah.
about your point of view and my point of view, and just let's have a better
Yeah.
understanding of where people say they don't believe in Catholicism, Catholic religion,
Yeah.
whether it be Judaism, Hindu,
Yeah. Whether
like
they believe
all
in a
the
thing or
things.
don't believe in a thing
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily make them a good
yeah.
or bad person. Yeah.
It doesn't matter the thing you believe in. Let's just have an open conversation about
Yeah.
where
Absolutely.
now I can understand where you were
Yeah.
yay or nay on something, and you
Well, you get a
understand at least
better
a little bit
understanding.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That and the problem is also saying here that watch Thank You for Smoking. Yes, that is an excellent documentary. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it is a great one. But also, yeah, you don't argue to prove that you're right. You argue to prove that the other side is wrong.
yeah,
Is generally how that works. Yes.
yeah. One of my favorite sayings is, um, "I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just explaining why I'm right."
Yes. That is absolutely how that works. But yes, anecdotally though, from what I have seen, I think that the CBC is totally wrong, and that young people are going to get out and vote in this election because for them, and it doesn't seem to matter what side you're on,
No, it does
it is
not.
a big thing for the young people that are voting liberal. Like all of the social issues seem to be a big thing for them, and that's why they're going to get out and vote. On the conservative side of it, like being able to afford a house and have groceries be a reasonable price, and all of the other things that go along with that is also a big issue for them. And like when I've gone out and been doing all of the canvassing, a lot of the people that are coming and helping are on the younger side of the age spectrum. Although we've had a bunch of older people too, which is kind of nice. We did a dinner thing for our local candidate at a local restaurant the other day. He had a voting party. There's a restaurant in where the voting office is, so it was the kind of come out, vote early, have dinner, and enjoy the company of like-minded individuals. And there were definitely a few people in the older demographic, which seems to be the problem with the liberal voting, is that you've got older people that are comfortable in their lifestyle at the moment. They own their house. They don't have all of the problems that kind of go along with all the stuff that young people are dealing with. And they're going to vote liberal because they're just so comfortable where they're at right now that like whatever, if taxes go up $1 or $2, it doesn't affect them. And
Yeah,
they're not necessarily thinking about like their children, their grandchildren, their great grandchildren.
but did they also only show up because they heard free?
Probably yes. Although like it was after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I
Ooh,
mean they
that's
had to
right around.
choose to be there.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Um,
right around prune juice time for
yeah,
them,
and
right?
and and there was some like and uh, Angela and I were kind of sitting there and we had a wonderful conversation with a guy, and like I think he almost kind of was brought to tears by some of the things that we were saying. But like initially he was very like angry because he wanted a sign for his lawn.
Yeah.
And he had to look for the website, and then he found it, and then he had to like put in a request for a sign, and the sign didn't show up. And I was like, oh well, like just go pick one up. Like here's the thing. And I've seen that from a few older people where like they'll put a sign on their lawn, which is great, but like if someone doesn't ask them, hey, do you want a sign? They're not
They
going to
get
go
butthurt.
out and
Yeah,
do it. And it's like,
yeah.
but this is do or die at this point for a lot of us. Like there's a lot of things here that are at play and are very important, making this a very significant election. But
Yes.
that's unfortunately that boomer mentality, is to just
Uh,
kind of like sit around and like, yeah, like someone will ask me and then like it'll happen or like it won't. No, if you want change, you have to go out and do something about it. So
yeah.
like, yeah, I found the website fairly easily, put in a thing, and then after like a day or two, saw that like nobody had come and dropped off my sign, so it was like, you know what, just gonna go over there.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't put signs on my lawn, but this time I felt it was kind of important to like do that because for some reason that matters, right? Like it changes
Yeah.
people's opinion
Yeah.
somehow. And
Yeah.
oddly enough, we upgraded from the little sign to the big sign, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden now our neighbor has a small sign in their lawn. But whatever, like their lawn, their problem. But just get out there. Like if you have the capacity to get out there and do something about it, get out there and do something about it. Don't just complain that no one's doing it for you.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem, and that's the problem with these fucking older people that are voting
Boomers.
liberal. They're just
Fucking
like
boomers. Right.
they're
Like,
just too comfortable in the way that they are that they don't stop and think about the other generations that their choices are going to impact. But I think young
right.
people are going to get out and vote in much higher numbers than they do traditionally.
I,
And it looks like they're going to vote conservative based on what I've seen.
yeah. And I just hope it's not because the conservatives are not voting for free weed,
Yeah.
but just right thinking logically, as you've just mentioned, not just thinking about you, but thinking
Yeah.
if I have a daughter, what about my grandkids? What about my great
Yeah.
grandkids? Like future generations is what we need to worry about. Yes, I need to worry about how much food costs and feeding my family now, but I also need to take into consideration if this expands, are they going to be able to do something without eating my left arm?
Yeah.
Because it costs too much to buy rice, you
Okay.
know?
Well,
Um,
I will end it on this Greek proverb here. A society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. So, if you want your kids to sit in the shade of a tree, you've got to plant that tree now so that it
mm,
grows and can give them the shade. So sometimes you need to do things to benefit them, even though you don't benefit by it now.
yeah, yeah. And
So
yeah,
just do that.
that's the things.
Yeah, just do that. On
Mm.
that note, Pierre, where can people find you and or the other half and purchase some t-shirts and things like that?
Um, Optimal customizing at Gmail. Um, I we're probably somewhere. I have no access to it because I don't have any of the socialist medias. Or you can find me or my significant other Sunday nights on the Copycat CPP Canadian Prepper podcast on YouTube's and Instagram, or no, YouTube's and Bookface. Sorry. 9 o'clock, where we talk about why you should be prepared due to the demise of society on Monday nights podcast.
Perfect. You can find me on Instagram, UrbexGTA. Also, if you haven't already done so, my buddy Ed from Mexico and now California, he emigrated legally. He's going to be in Toronto doing a counter custody course. Sign up through his website, Ed's Manifesto. But I'll be there with my buddy Boris from True North Tradecraft. We'll be teaching you fun things like how to get out of handcuffs for if you ever end up in the gulag
Mm.
for having the wrong think.
I
Um,
definitely don't want my wife to know that.
yeah, that's okay. We won't teach her, don't worry. You can also go to ragnaroktactical.ca, use the code Patriot at checkout to get some free medical supplies so that if you happen to injure yourself while trying to get out of the handcuffs and not really getting out of them successfully, you can bandage yourself up. Also, apologies to Rod. Rod's still probably recovering from the crazy party that he had with PP in Penticton the other day, where like 10% of their population got out. So he couldn't make it here today, but
Yeah, we get
soon.
it.
Yeah, soon. I promise. Soon we will have Rod on. Everything will be awesome. We'll be talking about how we're going to go shoot our ARs again and the best way to
Ooh,
do that. Yeah, it'll be a good time. Don't worry. It'll happen.
I can
Um,
only get so erect.
yeah. Well, it's like if you hear a knocking, that's actually happening under the table right now. Um,
But yes, we value your opinions, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback. Tell us what you've done to support your conservative candidate in getting your firearms privileges back. You can email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Also, we love your hate mail. It sustains us, and we haven't had any for a while, so we're feeling a little low.
Yeah.
So send
We're
your hate
kind of
mail.
disappointed.
Yeah, send your hate mail. We will read it and we will ridicule you, but send it. It'll be a good
Live.
time for all of us. Yeah,
Live.
yeah.
100%
That,
live. We'll do it.
and I would like to remind everybody that you are a small fringe minority